Hello, it's been a minute since we've talked and since my last video, and I had some things on my heart that I wanted to share with you. I remember when I was around 16 years old, I was talking to my father about how I felt my life was and what I was going through in my life at the time. And I told my father, I said, Dad, I said, my life is like this great big old mountain that I'm climbing. And the more I climb, the bigger this mountain gets. And when I'm looking at the mountain, before I climb it, I know I'm not going to even make it. I said, but the only reason that I climb is that I believe in miracles. After I told my dad that, he laughed, boy. He was so tickled that, so much depth came up out of me as a 16-year-old, but that's how I felt. I felt my life was this mountain, like I said, and I'm climbing this mountain, and I'm thinking I'm getting somewhere, but the more I'm climbing it, the mountain is getting bigger. And even before, when I see the mountain, I say, I'm not going to make this. But I said, so the only reason why I'm going to climb is because I believe in miracles. I believe in something outside of me that will give me the ability to do what is not naturally possible for me to do. That leads me into what I want to talk to you about today. I want to talk to you about normals. There's a lot of normals in our country and around the world, but there's some specific normals I want to talk about. And these normals are backed up with foundations of hundreds of years. There's racial inequality. There's norms that have been in this country for many, many years. And, and those normals are so embedded that it seems like it is impossible for one to try to defeat normals. It's like it's impossible, right? Normals have all the power on their side, and they have, again, foundations of hundreds of years. So most people just go along with the normals, because even though there's injustice in some of these normals, there's still a little bit of peace just to go along with it. It gives you a sense of peace. But if one makes up his mind that, those normals don't apply to your life, then you have some problems. Because now you're rising up against systems and structures and things that have been embedded for hundreds of years. And 9 times out of 10, there's no one that ultimately wins against normals, right? Because of what it takes to win against a normal. So at a young age, I had an encounter with God. Really, I had an encounter at 16 years old. And there were some things that were shared with me that was imputed inside of me that ultimately made me feel in my life, even though I seen the normals affecting my community, I seen the normals affecting my family, and I'd seen it for years, right? But there was something that God gave to me that made me feel like, even though all those things are going on around me, even though all those things are going on in my community, I felt like that doesn't apply to me. Now, understand, when you begin to position yourself with this type of thinking, right, that normals will say to you, well, who do you think you are? We have been here for hundreds of years. We have conquered everybody that has tried to rise up against us. And who do you think you are? to try to resist against normals. The best thing for you to do is just to go along with the program and understand that things are just the way they are. But I was never like that. After that encounter, I felt like that does not apply to me. Now, when you have that disposition, there's one thing that's necessary for you to overcome normals, and that's defiance. And not only defiance, but a surety. You have to be concluded and resolved in the fact that you know that the Most High came to you and gave you something, whether nobody else believes you, whether nobody else could see it or understand. It is incumbent upon you, once you had an encounter, to believe it for yourself. And I had to. Against all those odds, against my family, against the community, and against the system of white supremacy. I had to say, whatever's going on in anybody else's life in my community, whatever's going on in anybody else's life in my family, that doesn't apply to me. And when you make that proclamation against normal, all the power of normal, all the resources of normal, all the evidence of normal, all the conclusions of normal that we have been here and that we have been running things and that we have submitted your people, we have submitted your people before you, all that power of normal will rise up against you with the greatest force that you can imagine. And when that normal rises up against you and begin to come down on you, and you don't have that encounter, and you are not concluded that you know that God has given you something. It is that something that God has given you that allows you to take that word, the might of God being on your side, and rise up against this power of normal. And the clash begins. And the clash begins. And what normal doesn't understand is that when God is mixed in the equation, no matter what your circumstances, no matter how small you believe you are, no matter if you don't have any resources, if you don't have any connections to conglomerates, if you don't have nothing but that word, but that intervention from the Most High, that is all you need to submit normal. Now understand this. Normal will never go away. He will continue to submit and conquer folks around you, around your community, and around this world. But when normal sees you, normal will give you your space. Because when you come in and possess any place that you are in, normal will never ask you again, who do you think you are? Because you will come in as the normal conqueror. That's who I am. So when folks constantly look over my life and try to figure out, why does the man think the way that he thinks? Why does he have the gall in the midst of what's been normal to stand up and say, that doesn't apply to me? Because there's still a God in the earth, and he's still moving through men and women's lives.